This is why I was on when we was on the Pantheon on Thursday. I was talking about we don't need more black billionaires. Now, I don't know if you was on the stream Thursday, Lawrence, but if you were, put that combined to what I was saying on Thursday about black millionaires, because there's no separating that class. The black individuals who made it to become millionaires are following the track that the Waltons took. They're not on different tracks. There is no more harmonious or moral route to consuming $1 million worth of net worth. That
Millions
comes
with
from
an
somewhere.
M.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have more black millionaires.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay. We'll go through another re-education.
I would agree with billionaires to a sense, but millionaires?
Well, it's of the same class. That's just like saying, no, we shouldn't be making more gas guzzling semi trucks to pollute the earth, but the 4x4s and the F-250s are fine. I guess it's to a different degree, but they are on the track to become billionaires. What's the newest billionaire that you know? Who's the newest billionaire, the newest minted black billionaire that you know?
Rihanna.
Okay. She was a black millionaire, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where's the disconnect there? Like, what are the millionaires doing that disconnects them from the harm that billionaires are doing? They're doing the same thing at a smaller scale.
I feel like with billionaires just in general, there's a level of both wealth hoarding and the type of grimy shit you had to do to get to the $1 billion. I think you can make $1 million
grimy
without
things that you have to do to get to $1 million. You don't think
to $1 million? No. Or even at the very least,
hold on.
It's not anywhere close to the level.
Let's fix what we're talking about
to be a billionaire.
So maybe not having just $1 million cash liquid. I mean, $1 million net worth. If you're worth $5 to $10 million, right? Like that's more than just having $1 million in the bank. I'm not telling you not to become wealthy. I'm saying if you understand how billionaires hoard wealth, it's not any different than how millionaires become millionaires. They hoard wealth. They subvert taxes. They lean on industries. They cut their costs on labor forces. Like, they do all the things that billionaires do on a smaller scale. And they're attempting the exponential growth of how they got to that millionaire status keeps them on that same track of trying to obtain billionaire status. It's not like once you get $1 million, you stop. You made $1 million, you made $10 million, and now I'm good. I can sit for the rest of my life. That's not how these people act.
But we don't see the level of difference between obtaining even like you said, $5 to $10 million.
I'm about to give you
from that to $1 billion.
No, and I'll give you a couple examples. Is Tabitha Brown a billionaire?
No,
she's a millionaire though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tabitha Brown was actively trying to get us to continue patronizing a company that didn't want to, no longer was allowing black creators or black product producers to have their space in Target for no other reason to serve her bottom line. That's a millionaire putting the community's well-being to the side for her bottom line. And she's not the only that's just, and that's smart business.
That's a very fair point
for a millionaire, right? Let's look at Chicago. Just look at Chicago alone. That's just one metropolitan area in the United States. Oprah, Kanye West, Little Dirk. Between them, that's 1 billionaire and 2 millionaires. No, it shouldn't be a failing.
2 billionaires and 1 millionaire, isn't it?
Well, Kanye's not a billionaire anymore.
He's not?
No, he's not.
I thought he's still okay. All right.
Not, after Yeezy, he that was gone. After Yeezy, after the Gap deal went away, that billionaire status went away.
But even then, we're talking about a 100 millionaire versus.
If you want to call him a billionaire, it's fine. It doesn't take away from the point. It actually makes it even worse. How does Chicago look the way it does? There shouldn't be a single food desert in all of Chicago. There shouldn't be a failing public school in all of Chicago. And yet, 20 years ago, Oprah built a school in Africa. Now, we should probably go ahead and do some retroactive research to see what happened to all them girls in that school, because I swear to God, I didn't hear nothing about it since. How many schools does she got in Chicago? How many leaders of industry is she creating in her home of Chicago? How much more did it benefit her financially to create that business overseas, get the tax credits, get all the publicity in the world to push her persona? What did that do for us, Josh?
I hear that. I totally hear that.
Fucking Warren Buffett's. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of people who do things in the best interest of their money. And the only thing that creates that circumstance is what you have to do to get that level of wealth. You can't escape it. There is no rationale that makes you the most moral millionaire in the world. There's one way to get that amount of money, and it's to hoard wealth. It's to stop paying taxes. It's to enlist a workers force that you can pay as little as possible. That is how you get rich. There is no other lane.
The fallacy in that is that what you just gave me are lists of multimillionaires and billionaires that you're aware of. You haven't given me the black millionaire who only has
but
1
Josh,
or 2 million.
Have you ever talked to a black billionaire that didn't try to skirt taxes? That didn't try to find tax loopholes?
I've never talked to a black billionaire in my life.
Okay, I said million. We're talking about
you said millionaire. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm okay.
Like, have you ever met a person of substantial wealth that wasn't trying to find a way to hide their money from government, that wasn't trying to pay their fair share to make sure the collective and the whole rise? Have you ever met that person?
Have I met that person? No.
Maybe the Ben and Jerry's dudes. No. Maybe them, the Bernie Sanders, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
But I think at the same time,
there's some aberrations to the rule, but by and large, people who get that rich by hoarding their wealth.
I don't think that telling black people they shouldn't aspire to being a millionaire at that level alone.
I said,
shouldn't we want more black people to aspire to financial freedom?
Financial freedom is not being a millionaire. You don't have to be a millionaire to have financial freedom. You don't even have to have $1 million to have financial freedom.
At the same time, I don't think that every single black person who comes across $1 million is going to.
Every person who comes across $1 million is not a millionaire. Having $1 million in liquid cash does not make you a millionaire. If you are a millionaire, your net worth is worth multiple millions of dollars, which means you have assets, which means you have money outside of a bank account that is probably making money for you. And you got to that way by following the same track that the billionaires went on.
Even if we're talking about net worth, a person can own $1 million house and then that's it. That's their $1 million net worth.
I'm talking about, Josh. I've said that 3 times.
But
I'm not talking about having one asset that adds up to $1 million. I'm talking about
net worth.
Millionaire, someone who has millions of dollars worth of net worth.
Net worth includes your assets.
Right. So if you have $1 million home and that's all you have to your name, you're not really a millionaire. Because those
So then you are talking about somebody who has $1 million cash.
I'm saying people who have more than just $1 million, like has a multi-million-dollar net worth. Millionaires. I would not call a person who only has $1 million in asset a millionaire.
Okay. Regardless, I guess the point that I was trying to make is that I don't know that literally every single person who has $1 million is doing it to get to the point that they're trying to make $1 billion from there on. I don't know that every single black millionaire is doing that.
You get to that level of exorbitant wealth, whatever number you want to put on it, right? I'm not, and it's not just $1 million, because that doesn't make you a millionaire. But whatever number we decide it's at, those folks have to, just to not only to get there, but to sustain it, have to, in the way that our economic system is set up, the way that our tax system is set up, they have to find ways to limit their tax liabilities so that they can stay where they are. That's why our tax bills get worse every time we get a new president. That's why our social services get worse and worse as the years go on, right? That is why leaders of industry are able to pick their businesses up out of certain neighborhoods and claim theft as the reason, right? Even though every dollar they lose out of that store under the guise of theft is covered in insurance. That's why people look at the millions of dollars that billionaires and millionaires give in philanthropy, and they think that they're actually affecting change in the world. Every dollar of that money they're getting back, every single dollar, it is just publicity money that they don't even actually have to spend. So again, there isn't a system in place that encourages or forces wealthy people to pay their fair share or to contribute to society in an ethical way. Therefore, people will act unethically. If you create a pathway for people to create wealth that encourages acting unethically, that is how they'll act. And there isn't currently any structure in America that forces people to act with their money in an ethical way. So no, if black liberation is at the forefront of your mind, more black billionaires doesn't get us to that point. Capital ain't gonna save us from shit. Capital is the reason why we were product in the first place. Why we came to this country in the first place. The only reason why we are here is capital. Capital is not gonna save you.
I agree with billionaires, B with a B. Like I don't see a necessity for that. And I feel like, again, I think we both agree on the fact that wealth hoarding and all the fucked up shit that billionaires do lead to that. I just personally don't agree with we don't need more black millionaires.
But how are you disconnecting the actions of billionaires from the actions of millionaires? That's what's confusing me.
It's the difference between $1 million and $1 billion.
No, it's just a difference of how much you have. That doesn't constitute a difference in your actions or a difference in your behaviors.
It means there's a scale difference on how much you've done
of how bad
you make
it. That doesn't mean that you're not still doing bad. I may not be murdering people, but I could be making people sick. It doesn't make me a murderer. It doesn't mean I'm doing good either. If I'm contributing,
there's nuance to both of those things.
If I'm contributing to the same ruling class, if I'm contributing to the same wealth consolidation, how can you disconnect those two things? So really, what we talking about? What NBA players, low-level actors? You think that they're assisting in closing the racial wealth gap? You think that they're helping with the way that things are? Like how? That's not closing the wealth gap. That is taking them and putting them in the ruling class while the other 90% still toils on.
You don't see how you just made black millionaires just NBA players and actors. There's you can easily obtain $1 million by investing wisely.
What I'm saying to you is that a financially stable life, one that you don't have to work until you're 90, one that you don't have to die with your fingers bleeding and as an elderly man in a factory, and $1 million, there's an ocean in between that. There's an ocean in between that. You do not have to be a multi-million-dollar man to have financial stability. You do not have to be a billionaire to be financially stable. And so the idea that the millionaires are okay, but the billionaires are the real bad ones. You've gotten the idea of what's actually going on here completely.
No. I think the billionaires with a B is the bad one, and the millionaires is not.
Right. That's what I just said. That disconnection is a problem. How do we get billionaires, Josh? They don't come out of thin air. You don't inherit $1 billion. You pass that shit on. The millionaires will hoard their wealth for generations to come and then become billionaires. The Rockefellers were millionaires. The Rothschilds were millionaires. The Waltons were millionaires.
The millionaires that you're talking about right now were millionaires in the early 1900s, which is a completely different million.
What did they do? They continued.
Which is a completely different million than right now.
To change industry, and then they became billionaires. How did Elon Musk start? He got a couple $1 million from his dad. He hoarded wealth. He stole shit. And then now he's a billionaire, soon to be a trillionaire. That is how it happens. You cannot create a disconnect between the people who are already on the precipice of pushing their wealth to billionaire status and the people who are already there. That's what they're seeking. That's what exponential growth is. You only get to that point through exponential growth. Exponential growth doesn't stop. It's a weed.
It can stop.
It can stop if you fail, but the idea is not to fail.
And you don't even have to fail. You can invest your way to $1 million. You can start a business that's $1 million business. It does not have to be a $1 billion business.
That $1 million
business, I don't agree with that.
It will have every incentive to skirt tax laws, to pay their employees less. If they somehow don't do any of that, then good on them. Then they're the aberration to the rule. The system is set up that $1 million business that you're talking about is going to do everything that the $1 billion businesses did on their way up to $1 billion.
I don't know if that's true.
Same thing. They will vote with those moneyed interest. They will treat their employees with that moneyed interest. They will contribute to the dominating class of society behind their moneyed interest. Moneyed interest is the only thing that matters to money people. And so that will always win at the end of the day.
I respectfully disagree.